I don't want to lose the thread here. We're talking about a cultural response to an institutional shift, which is not only institutional, but a new product and a new set of procedures, or you could identify them as a new set of procedures. And yet it's telling you that we are, carrying it on. The thing, this is the thing. It's still the thing. We're still, the church is still the church. And your faith is only going to be enhanced and further rewarded by your embrace of, the way we do it now, which is, of course, completely in accord with and recovers the promise of the old way. How does the culture respond to that? Any number of people say, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to give up on my faith, am I? I'm not going to give up on my my cultural commitment to this. I mean, I live for that, so I'm in. Other people will say, false pope, false pope. With the guys in robes and their fancy books are betraying us, or pirates have come in and slaughtered, the rightful pope, and now some bloody-handed pirate is sitting on the throne and profaning it with his ass. Casting this in religious terms leads to splintering and leads to the quick formation, the desire very fast to form as quickly as you can a body of opposition, a body of protest. And that's what Dragon's Foot was. So as time went by, as I say, money talked, and you could be old school and play, 3rd edition and fourth edition even, with some of the Dungeon Crawl Classics products. And then as various steps occurred through the 4th edition process, and then into basically Hasbro learns that you really should be invoking this, and throws out as much cheese as it can for the potential protesters for the production of 5th edition, which basically, paints old school all over itself and jumps up and down and says, old school, old school. And everybody goes, ooh, all right. And so the idea is that since these changes are coming very fast relative to the earlier D&Ds, particularly the ones, with advanced on them and big edition numbers, the first set of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons in the late 70s, second set in the late 80s, third set in the early 2000s. See what I mean? I mean, we're talking generational shifts. You start doing this in, real time, so that the same person can see the changes and they haven't lived 10 years in between. They're going to be a lot more edgy about this. So it took, I think, a couple of bumps. It took a couple of editions for Hasbro to realize just how, what they were dealing with here. To have Dancy's insight, we're dealing with a culture here. We must truckle to this culture. We must know our flock, and we must feed them the flavor, of, we're going to give them this thing, but we're going to flavor it or put it in a colored package that matches what, they feel is proper, so that they can feel the continuity even though there isn't one. So what does the OGL have to do with this later stage, this Hasbro stage? Well, the nature of the OSR from starting with 2006, 2008, despite some earlier publications that are now folded in, retconned to be OSR, the idea was, hey, we can use the open gaming license to use any of the older publications and basically republish those rules and skin it, the way I want to, or re-explain them or something like that. They call them retro clones. They are, of course, not clones in any way, shape, or form. They are your expression of what you think you see, and they are always distinctive from the original. So I don't care, how diligently you copy the grammar. It's a new thing. But it's a lovely thing, for you to work on, and we can all take inspiration from whatever we like, and that's a good thing. And if you want to say, but I am keeping the old flame alive by doing a retro clone, I am not making a new game. No, I have illuminated this old manuscript so that we may better appreciate this old manuscript. I'm like, ah, yes, Brother Thaddeus. Nice job, nice job. Pretty good book you made there. Oh, I didn't make the book. Oh, sorry. My mistake. So the issue here is that this permitted a form of worship that people valued very greatly. They get to illuminate older manuscripts. And they think that they are worshiping the older manuscripts, but of course they are creating product and experience that is distinctly their own. It also allows a route for the fundamentalist mob to feel included. They get to have both ways. They can be both institutional and they can be their contrarian little, batch of complainers on the hillside as well. So the response to this institutional shift, which seems to take away the OGL, the capacity to do that, is basically slapping, this batch of worshipers in the face and saying, you know what, we got D&D 5th under all the Christmas trees this last Christmas, which is what we really wanted. And, screw you. We're playing with the big boys now, and you're going to have corporate logic at work here. And we're more concerned with Disney. We're more concerned with, Murdoch. We're more concerned with these larger scale franchises and what kinds of toys we can put in what stores. And we're not at all interested, in your greasy little, faith to Menser or something like that. And so therefore the spaces in which this discourse occurs, which seems to think that, the role-playing hobby is important to anyone, erupt. And so you're basically getting your dragon's foot moments, again and again and again of, oh my God, Mother Church doesn't care about us. But I fought for Mother Church. I argued on the internet. I put myself out there. I got all the likes from all these people, when I called, I don't know, I called 4th edition a Pooey Head, and I got all these likes from all these people, and I'm bought into this. It's important. 5th edition. I pumped for that. I got my name. I'm a playtester in that supplement for 5th edition. I'm a faithful dude. What are you doing? I was just working on my, my retro clone of such and such, and it was going to have the OGL in it. What do you want? I'm putting your stamp in there. I'm saying I'm a faithful member. I'm doing my part. What do you want me to do? You want me to, are you going to reject me? I'll be forced, I tell you, to rebel. And of course, Hazard was like, oh, sorry. Is something gnawing on my ankle? No, that's whatever, man. So, good luck with that, first of all of you. Not in the sense of, oh no, they'll kill you with their lawfare, because they could give a shit. What I'm saying is that you were a fool. There's two ways that all this foofara is foolish. The old way it was foolish, which continues through today, and the current way it is foolish. And it is foolish because of the religious content. Because we're dealing with religious phenomena, which are not always in and of themselves foolish, but it can make you foolish. Or in that context, you can behave foolishly. First, this is where everybody's going to go, but, and actually. First of all, the original OGL was a wonderfully, wonderfully meaningless document. If you published any of those retro clones, take whatever you want, name any of those things from 2008 through 2016 that everybody patted themselves on the back about. And you had published it without it being, with the OGL license, so what? They would have sued you. No, they wouldn't. They knew the judge would throw it out in a heartbeat. It won't hold up. And no, it's never held up. There is no history of any of it holding up. Not for role-playing. There's no precedent at all. In fact, rather the opposite. So you go right ahead and use whatever rules you want out of any Dungeons and Dragons you want, and you publish your game. And don't put an OGL on it, and you're fine. As long as your products can't be mistaken for one of their products, they can go pound sand. They send you a cease and desist, and you send back a letter saying, pound sand. And they go, oh, that one knows. And they leave you alone. How do I know? Because I've received them. So you really don't have to worry about infringing on game mechanics or terms. As long as we can't mistake the one for the other, you're fine. So that OGL has always been a chimera. It's always been nothing but truckling to or drawing upon or even exploiting the worshipper's desire to be included institutionally. And interestingly enough, as contrarian and fundamentalist and cranky a group as those who formed the OSR might have been, they stampeded to get included by Mother Church, which is what I'm always laughing about the OSR and the OGL, is that for people who want to keep the old flame alive and all the rest of it, they jump to the tit as quickly as they can. So much for their, private fervor. They want to be part of it, the big church. So that is actually pretty typical of fundamentalism in the history of religion. If they just wanted to live on their hillsides and tend their goats and be cranky, they could, and do it the way their daddy did. They can. But no, they want to organize. They want to get that. They want to be in the big church. Really, really, really bad. So that's the older kind of, that particular thing. Remember I said foolish and how mean that was? Well, that's the foolish part right there. That you let this meaningless piece of paper that has no legal capacity to do a damn thing act in its true form, which is as bait to keep you in publishing whatever game you want, advertising for the church. So you can get that rush that fundamentalists seem to want more than anything else in the world. Okay, with that said, what about the modern version? Now, so that just means the context for this response is equally foolish, because you, as a religious person, are basically, as I said before, you're saying Mother Church doesn't like me, but I have bled for Mother Church. I did my kooky little, retro clone of the older works of the older works, right? I'm a dedicated, monk. I have dug into the archives. I have gone over the old parchments. I have illuminated them. I've put them on fresh paper. I have got another cover. I made a new cover for it. It's a pretty cover, and I gave it a cool pun name, right? Adventures Darkened Jeep or Blue Home, and okay, fine. So yes, it's and you can you have the OGL on it. You have the open game license text, and you have said that you're part of that. You are appreciated in doing this. The response to them saying, by the way, that piece of paper doesn't mean it anymore, instead of being, quite rightly, as it should have been 20 years ago, and who needed it anyway? I can do what I want. There is no legality against me being influenced by another game, and you can only trademark and copyright a whole game, not a rule. Or a block of text, not a block of text that says the same thing in a different way. I could have been, why isn't the same Insider Rising now? Which is, I was working on this retro clone and I was going to give it a pun name, and it was going to be based on, Moldvay, or based on, some particular detail, some particular thing, maybe one of the adventure supplements from second edition or something like that. And I was going to publish it. Well, go ahead. Don't put the OGL on it this time either. But no, from the religious point of view, that's not the point. The point was to be opinionated and have your point of view, which is the love of that older material, be expressed in publication form and included in Mother Church. That's what has been taken away from him, and that, and only that, is why they're pissed. So that's my view on that one. So let's see. I think that is about it for this time, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really not cranky about any of this stuff, but boy, it sure comes off that way. There's a lot of great role-playing to be done with Hero Wars, with versions of RuneQuest, with Sorcerer, I hope, with Tunnels and Trolls, with Troll Babe, and with Cold Soldier, especially, and with a wide variety of things that have been published under the names Dungeons and Dragons and many things adjacent to it. All sorts of great play to be done. Let's do that. Let's enjoy ourselves with those and share with each other why and how we're doing it.